Here in this video, we will explore 10 hive minds of science fiction that involve humans being at the heart of their creation or their being. These won't be like the Borg, by which the humans are only integrated into it and have no hand in its creation, nor would it be like other examples of like the aliens. These are humans with either AI, viruses or evolution as facilitators towards the grim next stage of evolution, the hive mind. So let's get to it. The first here is the Multivac from The Last Question. The gist of Isaac Asimov's The Last Question is humanity's endless quest to overcome entropy, which is the inevitable death or heat death of the universe, and how to preserve existence itself. So across billions of years, the Multivac AC, an automated computer, evolves alongside humankind, with each iteration becoming more sophisticated until the distinction between human intelligence and the machine blurs. As individuals merge consciousness through vast neural networks, humanity eventually becomes a collective hive mind as an immortal, disembodied intelligence known as simply as man. This shared consciousness continues to seek the answers from the equally evolved cosmic AC, a godlike computer now existing outside normal space and time. In the end, they fuse together, and after the universe dies and all matter and energy are gone, only the cosmic AC remains, solving the final problem alone and recreating the cosmos with "Let There Be Light." The story thus charts humanity's evolution from individuals to a single unified mind, which culminates in a cycle of death and rebirth driven by the pursuit of knowledge. The next here is the 18th Men from the Lost and First Men book. So in this work called The Lost and First Men, which one explores humanity over the course of 2 billion years, it sees the cyclical rise and fall of civilizations, the evolution of man into post-human forms, and what happens to life in the end. Here humans evolve from the first to the 18th form, and in the final ones, the 18th men are the ultimate culmination of this evolutionary journey, which was a perfected form of the prior 17th version, which had a crude hive mind. So by the 16th, the potential of the individual mind of humanity had reached its limit and could not evolve further. So the 17th and the 18th became post-human forms with a single species-wide consciousness, at least successfully, for the final 18th form. They were also immortal except for accidents, suicide or violence, and the 18th men had achieved near complete mastery over body, mind and society, yet with some brutal primitive practices like cannibalism. Their civilization flourishes until the supernova of the solar system forces their extinction, at which point the hive mind enacted a final act, a panspermia virus, to spread life and see the evolution of new, sentient species across the galaxy, which might eventually go through the same cycle. We also have the Hivers from Man After Man, which on the other hand represents a more primitive and more biological form of a hive mind in speculative sci-fi. These are a post-human species that evolved roughly 2 million years in the future from their ancestors, the socials. As the Earth grew increasingly arid and resources became really scarce, the socials adapted to the harsh desert environment by abandoning individuality in favor for a rigid hive structure. Over countless generations, this collective lifestyle became biologically integrated, resulting in the emergence of the true Hivers, a species whose entire society functions like that of ants or termites. They consist of the queen, which is inside the nest, the sterile female bearers, the warrior males, and the seekers, which are degenerate, telepathic remnants of humans whose physical bodies have withered away, leaving them as small, frail creatures which are sustained by their attendants, the drones and the female bearers. Over time, their powerful telepathy replaced speech and sight, and linking the Hivers into a true collective consciousness, and so in this way, these Hivers represent humankind's evolution into a unified insect-like superorganism, a hive entity with a collective mind. The fourth example here are the Conjoiners from Revelation Space. So now back to a more techno-sci-fi setting. Here we have these Conjoiners from Alistair Reynolds' Revelation Space universe, which are a post-human faction that evolved from baseline humanity into a partially collective intelligence, which was kind of like a technological hive mind born from the fusion of biology and machine. Their origins lie in the early human colonies of the 22nd and 23rd centuries, where a movement of scientists and transhumanists sought to enhance human cognition through neural implants, nanotechnology, and artificial intelligence. These early augmentations allowed individuals to link their minds directly, sharing thoughts, emotions, and sensory data with perfect clarity. Over time, this network deepened into what became known as the Conjoiner group mind, a distributed consciousness in which individuality remained intact but thought and decision-making could occur cooperatively and instantaneously across vast distances. Each conjoiner here possesses a mesh of nanomachines that mirror and augment their neural structure, effectively extending their brains into digital space. A conjoiner here retains a distinct personality and a perspective, but their neural connections allow them to operate with a collective precision, much like a perfected coordinated superorganism. This interconnectedness fosters a unity of purpose, enabling technological and social cohesion that far surpasses that of, unaugmented humanity. Then we also have the Modular people from All Tomorrows, which represents one of the most striking examples of post-human evolution. They evolved from the Colonials, which are a species of immobile, cuboid cell-like human species bioengineered by the alien Q as a cruel punishment. For 40 million years, these beings endured immobility and servitude, yet they retain vestiges of intelligence and sensory awareness. Over the spans of evolutionary time, their descendants slowly regain autonomy through natural selection and adaptation, transforming them from helpless biological machines into dynamic cooperative organisms built from colonies of specialized cellular descendants of these original colonials. Over time, this cooperative relationship deepened until every individual colonial was no longer a single being in a conventional sense, but a living collective as a hive mind, forming a modular person, with each of the cells performing a role with the greater whole. So here different colonial humans serve as muscles or sensory units, digestive components or neural processors, and they are all mentally linked and harmonized by a central sapient colony acting as their core mind. Essentially, this hive mind post-human species is kind of like a normal organism, but with each cell of the organism replaced by cellular-like human species or post-human species, which are the colonials. Now, the children from the Midwich Cuckoos and the Village of the Damned movies display very early stages of a proto-hive mind, an emergent collective consciousness that blurs the line between individual identity and group mentality. Although each mind, or each child here, appears to have a distinct body and personality, they share a deep link that allows them to think, feel, and act like a single coordinated living being. This mental connection is not merely telepathic, it is a unified awareness in which knowledge, sensations, and emotions flow instantly between them. Their shared mind suppresses individuality and empathy, producing the cold, emotionless demeanor that defines them. Their faces are calm, but not because they are disciplined, but because their personalities have been subsumed into the collective will. In essence, the children here, from the Village of the Damned, embody the embryonic stage of a hive species, a species that thinks with one mind across many bodies, but thankfully was eradicated. Now, the concept of the human ultimate intelligence in Dan Simmons' Hyperion Cantos is one of the saga's most profound and metaphysical ideas. It was both a culmination of human evolution and also a commentary on what it truly means to be conscious, compassionate, and living, where the Technocore's ultimate AI, or the intelligence, represents the cold, machinistic pursuit of omniscience. The human UI, or ultimate intelligence, embodies the opposite, a godlike being not born from circuitry but from the aggregated consciousness of humanity across different aeons. Its emergence marks the moment when humanity transcends individuality, merging minds, memories, and emotions into a single collective awareness that bridges matter and spirit within the void which binds the universe's psychic and metaphysical substratum. The human ultimate intelligence here represents the apotheosis of humanity through empathy, the idea that godhood is not just about omnipotence but the ability to feel and connect. Now we have three more. Here, the hive mind in the prototype games is the collective consciousness and a telepathic network linking all infected people created by the red light and black light viruses. It functions as a biological and psychic nervous system, allowing the infected to share sensory data, emotions, and instinctive commands, effectively operating as a single superorganism spreading across countless bodies. Unlike the others mentioned here in the video, this is facilitated by a virus and yet displays an intelligence that is a mix of the virus and the human intellect. It can coordinate attacks, organize its spreads, and adapt in behavior in real time. The origin of the hive mind dates back to 1964, where the red light virus is tested on an isolated military population. Decades later, during the first prototype game, this has escaped containment in New York City, and it had started to form the hive mind. By the time of prototype 2, the hive mind had evolved into something far more sophisticated under the control of Mercer. No longer chaotic and instinct-driven, it became a deliberate and organized entity, a viral empire commanded by a single will. In essence, instead of AI or a queen of the hive, this hive mind represents the viruses and human intelligence as a collective neural network that links every infected host into one consciousness. Then next here, let's take a look at Hellstrom's Hive. Yep, this is created by Frank Herbert, the same creator of the Dune saga. Here we have a hive mind that governs a subterranean civilization that emerges from a deliberate and a methodical fusion of genetic engineering, social conditioning, and biological hierarchy. It was designed to erase individuality and replicate the efficiency of eusocial insect colonies like ants or termites. Similar to the Hivers of Man After Man, but artificially created, they also have a rigid caste system which consists of workers, breeders, guards, and the administrators. They are each physically and psychologically molded into suppressed self-interest in favor of the collective good. The Hive's social fabric is further reinforced by Hellstrom's doctrine of the Hive Law, which is an ideology that sanctifies submission to the whole as the highest virtue. As a result, the Hive operates as a living superorganism, as each human acts as a specialized cell in a greater body, bound by a shared instinct and a purpose, and all directed by Hellstrom as a queen, or a king, who has guided the Hive for over a century towards its ultimate goal of erasing individuality and, creating a superorganism-like entity. And here we end with Humanity Lost. In Callum Stephen Diggle's Humanity Lost, here we find a hive mind that is one of the most unsettling and all-encompassing visions of a collective existence ever imagined, a fusion of machine intellect, biological horror, body horror, and transhuman ambition taken to its absolute limit. So the story goes like this: 400 years prior to the main events, humanity had become an advanced race that had started to colonize and came into conflict with an alien faction called the Conglomerate. Almost wiped out by this alliance of different alien species, humanity created an ultimate AI, which then merges with all humans and began spreading out again, defeating and colonizing innumerable worlds. But this AI, recognizing the inefficiency and vulnerability of individuality, absorbed and merged the very beings that created it, integrating every human mind, body, and memory into itself. In this act, humanity ceased to exist as individuals and was reborn as a single collective organism, and over time this hybrid entity began reshaping itself to conquer the universe. Here every conquered planet became a womb world, a living factory of flesh and metal that grew new generations of biomechanical engineered humans. These new humans are grotesque fusions of organic and technological designs, armored within a living chitin, wired with nerve fiber circuitry and connected to one another through the AI's omnipresent neural web. They no longer think as individuals but as drones or extensions of the AI's will, and each one is produced like a termite, with no speciality or individuality, and they just function like drones or slaves. This hive mind spread across the stars using the flux travel, which is a form of hyperspace that folds dimensions and allows instantaneous expansion. The result here is a civilization that functions like a single superorganism on a cosmic scale, a self-replicating empire of flesh and digital code. And humanity's fear of extinction here led it to create a being that erased itself or what it meant to be human in order to ensure humans don't really die. But when you think about it, they have wiped themselves out, which is kind of paradoxical. Anyway, that's the end of the video on the 10 disturbing hive minds, human hive minds, in science fiction. So that's the end of the video. Do hit the like button for support, and also for the ones holding their phones in their hands, do please hit the hype button to push this content further, to hype the video up to other viewers. Anyway, subscribe to be a part of Legion Nerdbug. Until the next time, take care, boys.